We don't need all the answers to the Browns quarterback situation in mid-May. We'll talk about it coming up next on the Locked On Browns podcast.
You are Locked On Browns, your daily Cleveland Browns podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Dog Pound? I'm Spencer Sherman, your host of the Locked On Browns podcast. I'm proudly covering your Cleveland Browns each and every single day in the land and on the road. Everyone wants to know who is ahead of who after rookie minicamp and the quarterback position and just in general about the room itself. But we don't need all the answers in mid-May. Also, I thought Shedeur Sanders and Dillon Gabriel had all the right things to say over the weekend, and my biggest takeaways from rookie minicamp. I do want to thank you for being an everydayer with the Locked On Browns podcast, making this your first listen every single day. Remember, you can find Cleveland Browns content with Locked On Browns every week, Monday through Friday, guaranteed, with bonus content on certain days and over the weekends at times as well. And it's totally free to you. Just hit that subscribe button wherever it is that you listen to your podcast. And of course, at the Locked On Browns YouTube channel, where you can get involved in the show by sharing your thoughts on anything we discussed today in the comment section. This is your team, so be part of the conversation every single day. And today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. So listen, I understand it's the time of year where people want to overanalyze everything that gets put up on social media and practice and so on and so forth. And I understand why. We're all hungry for football. It's been a long layoff here of the offseason. We want Browns football back in our lives for various reasons. And it is right around the corner, believe it or not. We'll be at training camp before you know it. But I want to caution people from feeling the need to take every throw, every handoff, everything and take it as gospel in terms of like, this person's ahead of that person, or this person's better than that person, or this person is clearly higher on the depth chart. Like Kevin Stefanski said it best on Friday when he was talking about the fact that Dillon Gabriel sort of took the first reps at quarterback when they were doing more of like the 11-on-11 type stuff and team type stuff at rookie minicamp. You know, he said, I wouldn't read into anything. And I think that's an important distinction to make. Like, I know that we are obsessed with the race at that position, especially. And it's twofold when you have a team that doesn't have a set in stone quarterback they're starting this year, and it is as they presented it in open competition. That just perpetuates all this and makes it even bigger. Is trying to figure out who's ahead of who and which player is looking better and which player is looking worse and all these different things. But in relation to rookie minicamp specifically, like the reps really don't matter. Who went first really doesn't matter. This is the first work that any of these players got during, Dillon Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders included, with football work, actual football work that they have gotten since the end of their respective college football seasons. They haven't I've always talked about the process of the pre-draft process being this drawn out thing that almost, I think, hurts rookies and young players because they're trying to quickly get themselves ramped up to get drafted, and they're doing all these different things that aren't necessarily conducive to like actually playing football. They're just like training all the time. It's just training, whatever. So it's not this big thing that people, I think, make it out to be, in terms of like actually like they're staying in shape, but it's not the exact things they're needing to do to be like football ready. And so now they're going out on the field. They're going through a playbook. They're trying to memorize plays. They're trying to run an offense or like the remnants of an offense during this time of year. Like it's just different. And so especially rookies, like they deserve some grace around this time of year to just kind of figure things out and just let the chips fall where they may and go out and perform and see how they kind of earn their stripes or earn their job. And Kevin Stefanski said that too. Like their jobs right now are just to earn their roles and figure out where those are. But nobody has set roles at this juncture right now. And that's at the quarterback position too, where they've called it an open competition, as I said. So just let them, we got to get comfortable with letting them go out and play. We don't need all the answers right now as to who is the quarterback that's going to start, who has the leg up, all these different things in terms of the quarterback competition. Even though I know we want them all right now, we don't need them all right now. And plus, like today, Monday is the first day that they're getting joint work with Joe Flacco and Kenny Pickett. I guess I take that back because Kevin Stefanski did say the rookies kind of get Monday off from being out on the field doing stuff because they did stuff all weekend. But this week is the first time all those quarterbacks will be on the field together, sort of going through things. So it's a situation that's fluid. All these guys are going to get a chance to compete for that starting role, as Kevin Stefanski said. And listen, if Shedeur Sanders really impresses, he'll earn it. If Dillon Gabriel really impresses, he'll earn it. I really think, I think they are keeping their options open and they're keeping the door open on any of these guys potentially starting. Now, I do think when push comes to shove and the season starts, I think they ultimately will end up going with one of the veterans just because they're more experienced. And I do think there is a level of trying to start the season at least showing, hey, we're trying to be competitive here. We need a guy that's been out there, has proven some things, and they probably want these two rookies to learn a little bit and develop a little bit before they get thrown in the fire. But at some point, all these guys are going to play. I mean, unless one of them is like undeniably incredible throughout the training camp and the preseason and all that you have to put them out there. But I don't know that that's going to happen. I think it's all going to be pretty level. And you're going to go with the veteran because they're a veteran and they probably give you a little bit more than what the rookies will. And then we'll see the rookies down the line at some point. But for what it's worth, I did think that both Shedeur Sanders and Dillon Gabriel looked good for different reasons. I think it's obvious that both see the field pretty well. I think Shedeur really showcased his ability to kind of go through progressions. The drifting thing where he drifts back when he's under pressure, that did come out a couple times. And so I think that's something that he's clearly going to be working on. But I thought the sideline throws from Shedeur, which have been a staple of his tape, and we saw that on his pro day as well. Like he made some really nice pinpoint throws on the sideline. Both are super accurate. Both are super effective at sort of navigating things in terms of coverages and figuring out where to go with the football. Dillon is noticeably like he has more zip on his throws, and that has been said about him. You know, his arm strength looked more imposing or more electric than it did maybe on tape for me. And yes, there still are going to be the concerns about his height and what that means at the NFL level. There's certainly a history that suggests players of his stature aren't going to be as good at that position specifically, or other positions maybe, just because of their height. But to Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry's point on that didn't necessarily show up in the tape for him, I think that's very true from his Oregon tape and from his college tape. But the NFL is a different beast, so he's going to continue to have to sort of buck that and push back against that in the way he plays. But I thought, like, in these initial practices, like, you saw some of the reasons why they liked him, and you saw some of the reasons why he has a chance to be successful. Now he still has to go out and prove it. Yeah, I mean, he made a couple of really tight window throws. There was one on day one that he made in the back of the end zone to Harold Fannin Jr. that Harold Fannin couldn't get his feet down for a touchdown, but it was close, and it was like a really good placed ball, out of reach of coverage, into a little bit of a tight window. There were some good things for both guys. And I think the other thing I noticed in just terms of their technique, you see a guy in Gabriel who's a little more refined, which makes sense. He's older, keeps himself very compact, not a lot of like extra movement in his drop back, his arms, the way he throws the football. Shedeur, I think, has a little bit of cleaning up to do in terms of his overall body movements when he's dropping back to pass. But again, those are things that they can clean up, and I'm envisioning that is something that the franchise believes they can work on and improve with Shedeur Sanders, and we'll see what that looks like moving forward here. But because of those reasons, because both guys have work to do, and they're kind of learning as they go, and are going to get to be developed here. It's another reason why we can't sit there rookie minicamp and be like, well, he's ahead of him and he's behind him, and clearly they think Gabriel's going to have a better chance to start. Like, I don't know that I'm taking a ton away from rookie minicamp in terms of like depth chart and roster and all these different things. That stuff will start to play itself out, in the next start to is the key phrase. And with the weeks ahead, obviously training camp in the preseason, but rookie minicamp is about getting acclimated and just kind of getting their feet wet in terms of playbook and how practice and things work in the NFL. And I think we saw both those guys handle that pretty well here during rookie minicamps. Another thing that Dillon Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders handled very well, the media. We'll talk about it coming up next on the Locked On Browns podcast. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. It's your personal CFO giving you visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place so you can stop just managing your money and start building wealth. Take advantage of all-in-one convenience. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. Managing with your partner is smoother than ever. I can attest to this, as my wife and I have realized we cut out some extra costs that we had in our budget and are saving money like never before. You can track your spending of shared and personal accounts, set goals, and get on the same page without stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNFL for half off your first year. So I thought that Shedeur Sanders and Dillon Gabriel handled things on the field fairly well as their first really on-field work with the Cleveland Browns. I thought what they handled immensely well was the media. And, of course, they both had their respective press conferences on Saturday. I was not there for Saturday, admittedly, but I did hear their press conferences and a lot of the answers that they had to certain questions. And there were a few things that stood out. I thought, for starters, Dillon Gabriel is clearly a very poised individual. And he was asked a question specifically about, the quarterback competition and people wanting to say this, he's better than him, or, is it awkward between them that they drafted somebody else after him? And his response, I'll read it to you here verbatim. He said, quote, "I think the more questions I get asked like that, it just divides the team. And for me, I think we're all in a room full of not just us, but Kenny, Joe, and Deshaun. And for us, we know how important a healthy QB room is, but also a team that you want to be part of, and how to create an environment every single day where everyone can be at their best. And that's pushing one another with talent naturally, which talent naturally does. And, naturally it's health for us, where we all go to do our thing and everyone wins." I thought that was a really great response. Because listen, these two, Shedeur Sanders and Dillon Gabriel, are going to be scrutinized at every turn. They are going to be nitpicked at every turn in terms of, well, he's ahead of him. And I mean, we just did it in that first segment. We fans are doing it all weekend, looking back at the Zapruder film on what these guys did via social media videos in terms of practice and the throws that they were making and the throws they weren't making and all these different things. So it's going to continue to happen, and it's going to forever be, as long as they're both on this roster together, this competition between them. And I think his response there in terms of like keeping the focus on, listen, like, we're a team, we're going to navigate this thing together. It's a competition, yes, but we're all here for each other in the end. I thought that was just a really well said answer, like a very mature answer from a guy who's a rookie. And it should have the Browns feeling pretty good about like the guys that they brought in that way, because, they're not, even though Sanders comes with a little extra flair because of the media attention that's going to come with. And people have obviously, there's plenty of people in Shedeur's camp from a fan standpoint that believe he shouldn't have been, and he probably shouldn't have been, a day 3 pick, is worthy of being a starting quarterback in this league. And I've kind of counted out Dillon Gabriel. So he's going to go prove it himself, but he made it clear like there's no ill will between the two just because they were both drafted by the same team and they're now competing for the same job. And I thought that was important. I also thought Sanders had some really good answers to things as well that shouldn't be, glossed over here. One of the biggest that stood out to me was his quote on, my job isn't to prove people wrong, it's to prove myself right. And I fully have the self-belief, that what those people say, that's just their opinion. I thought that was great because, like at the end of the day, and I think this kind of falls in line with what Andrew Berry told Shedeur Sanders on the phone when they were drafting him. Like, it's not about where you go in the draft. It's about what you do from here. And what you do from here is all on him. That is all strictly, yes, like everyone has limits to their ability. So I guess it's not always on him. Like, he might be capped at a certain ceiling that he'll never be a top 5 quarterback in this league. Maybe he can get into the top 10 though. And that might be where his ceiling is at just from a talent standpoint. But the work he puts in to get there, his ability. I mean, people probably thought I hate to use this example, but Excuse me. But like he's being compared to Tom Brady in some respects because day 3 guy had the he has his number now, number 12. He's had a relationship with Tom Brady in terms of those two working out together and Brady really rooting for him and helping him throughout this process. So in that respect, like all these guys who are day 3 picks are going to come with a certain ceiling that people are going to sort of put you at and say you're in this box and you're never going to get out of it. It's up to him to prove those people. He said he's not going to prove them wrong, but it's up to him, the work that he puts in to ultimately like dispel those things. But he looking at it from a standpoint of like, I'm not coming out here to like prove those people wrong. I'm just coming out to prove like I know that I can do this and I'm going to be right about it. Is I think the right approach to have. It means he's going to block out that outside noise, which by the way, throughout the pre-draft process, that was one of the things I loved the most about Shedeur Sanders. The fact that you have this quarterback who's confident as hell. And I know people thought that rubbed them the wrong way, but he's confident as hell. And he's just focused on like he's keeping the main thing. He's not focused on the outside noise. We have another quarterback on this team that says he doesn't care about the outside noise. And then every time something outside gets posted about him, he's jumping on social media to respond to it or block people or whatever it might be. Shedeur stays above the fray in that regard. He says it and he actually does it. And he just goes out with a sense of purpose to sort of prove that he can be great. And he has a Hall of Famer for a dad, so he knows what that's like to be great. He knows what it's going to take to be great, I think, in that respect, in terms of working hard. I like everything about Shedeur Sanders. I've liked it throughout the pre-draft process. I like the way he's handling things now. He also talked a lot about how, like, the pre-draft process, everything that went wrong, and him ending up as a day 3 pick, him being a 5th rounder, none of that matters. Not a single second of that matters now that he's on a team and he's trying to compete for a starting job. It's almost like it's a book closed. Okay, this was me in college. This was me in the draft. Now I close that book. Now this is me in the NFL. I'm starting my own story. It's a blank page or a blank canvas that I get to sort of paint the picture or write the story on. I don't have to worry about all these things. I can stay above the fray. And I appreciate that perspective from Shedeur and his ability to just go out and want to work and to again, prove himself right that he can be a great starting quarterback in the NFL. Maybe he doesn't get there, but I think he has the right attitude and approach to try to get there and to be there potentially at some point down the line. And for that, I think I think that is extremely admirable and something that fans will be able to rally around and attach themselves to and feel good about. So no matter how you feel about Shedeur Sanders, no matter if you liked him through this process or not, no matter if you wanted him here because of the extra attention that comes with it or not, you can't argue at all with the way he goes about his business in terms of the way he's answering these questions. Listen, since the moment he had that prank call on draft day and then the moment he was drafted, I think he's done nothing but like he's had nothing but wins ever since, because there was a lot of sympathy that came with him getting the prank call, which I talked about on this show. There's the fact that like he has said all the right things. He said the right things about that prank call, which I think was pretty telling as to like the character of the person that you're getting. He said all the right things in his first press conference here with the Browns media on over the weekend. Like he's going about this the right way. And I think if you're a Browns fan, that's all you should really be asking for. You should feel really good about that in that respect. So I think both these guys handle questions with a lot of grace and measure. And I thought they were impressive young men in terms of their ability to answer those questions and prepare themselves on top of what we saw in the field, which, like I talked about in the first segment, was 2 quarterbacks that look like they are going to go out and try to earn those jobs. And they had positive things that you saw in their games. And, still some work to do for both. But I think there was a lot of good that came out of rookie minicamp for both those players at this juncture. What else did I see at rookie minicamp? Well, I'll tell you. Coming up next on the Locked On Browns podcast. All right, so we talked a lot about the quarterbacks in the first couple segments, rightfully so, but there was plenty of other things to see at rookie minicamp over the weekend, and I did admit I was not there Saturday, so I cannot say that I saw Mason Graham puking his guts out. Sounds like he had too much food to eat or whatever it might be, but listen, that to me is just a sign that, like, hey, he's working his ass off. He's coming in, number 5 pick. He's not resting on his laurels. He's like, hey, I'm going to come out here and I'm going to give this my all. And I'm going to work hard, even during rookie minicamp of all things, and sort of show everybody like who I am as a player. So I thought that was pretty telling to just like the the work ethic of that young man and the fact that he's going to be great. But what I will tell you from the day I was at rookie minicamp, Mason Graham, he has an elite get off. Like, I know you see it on the tape, but man, like seeing it in person as he was going through some of these drills, and they were doing this drill where they kind of weave through the bags. And when these guys do this drill, you can tell like some don't have as good of balance, and they're kind of like bumping into the bags. They have a tougher time navigating the court, like the turns to kind of get through. Mason was smooth as hell. He, kept kind of his shoulder down. He was navigating it nicely, and it was very smooth the way that he kind of wove through it. And then on top of that, like this drill starts with like him just jumping off the line. And man, oh man, like opposing quarterbacks beware. I've continued to say that I know people wanted Travis Hunter. They were all excited about the idea of this two-way generational player. I think Mason Graham was worthy of the number 5 pick where they ended up, though. He's still a top 5 player in this draft. And he, I knew all these things about him already. Seeing it in person is different, though. And he's going to have a chance to really feast with especially Myles Garrett drawing all the attention that he's going to draw on the outside. And the Browns will finally have somebody that can generate internal pressure on quarterbacks, which is a massive, massive thing for this team to add into the mix on their defensive line, which should be good this year. I do feel good about the defensive line. They invested some resources, what limited resources they had, they invested in it on top of adding somebody like Mason Graham. So I think they're in a pretty good spot in terms of this defensive line, and Mason's going to be a big reason for that. He looks special. So that was the first thing that jumped out at me. I thought Carson Schlesinger, who was their first pick in the second round, obviously, we're just kind of, not by design, but we're just kind of going through order here. I thought you saw in limited spurts, like his ranginess, his ability to fly around and make plays, and his instinctfulness to, diagnose certain things. He's coming in as a guy who is supposed to sort of fill that JOK void potentially, or at least be the same sort of player. And ironically, he was asked during his press conference on Friday about like players that he comps himself to. At one point, he had said he kind of comped himself to Luke Kuechly, who's obviously now retired Panthers linebacker. And he was asked like, who's somebody in the league now, like a current player that you compare your game to? And he did say his teammate, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. So along those lines, I think we saw the early stages of like what his ranginess looks like, his ability to cover certain players. And obviously we know how important that is in the NFL. Linebackers who can cover are not a dime a dozen. Like they're hard to come by. And if you have those players, it can mean great things for your defense, because you take away tight ends, you take away slot receivers sometimes, because guys can sort of do those things. And so if they have the versatility to do that, you got to tap into it. And I think he showed some of that. Again, it's early. It's rookie minicamp. You're not seeing everything. They're not like unloading the clip per se. But I thought there were some signs there, and I liked what I saw from him. Harold Fannin Jr., now we go out of order because he was actually a third-round pick. But Harold Fannin Jr., the biggest thing I noticed about him, and admittedly on Friday I didn't watch as much Harold Fannin Jr. as I would have hoped, but the one thing I noticed as he was kind of coming in and out of drills is that he looks the part. I know he's only 6'3", and that's considered undersized. And I think he's only 240, 230, and then they want tight ends to be like between 240, 250, somewhere in that range. So I know he's a little undersized. I think he's going to bulk up even more in terms of like putting muscle on, and understanding that during rookie minicamp, they're going against a lot of undrafted rookies and free agent. Like these are not like this is not the 85 Bears or something that they're going against in terms of like the offense versus the defense. I understand those things. And so, yes, he did look like he was an imposing player when he's going against guys who were like super, shorter guys that didn't make rosters for certain reasons. Maybe they didn't have the measurables, and they were given a chance at rookie minicamp to sort of see what they could do. Yes, he's going to look like an imposing figure in that regard when he's in that setting. But it just like he looks like a guy that can play tight end at the next level. Like truly, he was making plays in the 11-on-11 stuff. He showed his physicality. He was, sort of towering over guys. He looks like a guy that's going to come in and make an impact at tight end, and is going to, be able to already contribute pretty quickly here. So I liked what I saw from Harold Fenton of what I did see, and I'm excited to watch even more of him up close and more sort of specifically, during OTAs, during veteran minicamp, and so on and so forth. So we'll see what all that looks like. But I thought there was some good stuff from him. And then the last thing I wrote down as a big takeaway was Quinshon Judkins and Dylan Sampson are already hitting it off. There was this fun moment. I actually tweeted this too at Spencito_, where Deuce Staley was poking buttons a little bit. He was kind of getting into Dylan Sampson's head, saying like, Quinshon said he was going to beat you in this drill. Like he said, he's better than you. And he was like, he's making it sort of fun in a way to sort of motivate them. And there was this drill where they had to sort of go laterally over these bags and sort of race each other to the end. And, I thought you could tell like they ended the drill by like sort of dapping each other up at the end and like laughing about it. And so you can tell they're already trying to build this camaraderie between those two in that running back room, the new faces, if you will, of the running back room. And I think like they both bring different things to the table in terms of their skill sets. And it's going to be interesting to see as the rest of off-season program stuff and then training camp and the preseason roll around. It's going to be interesting to see how they sort of throw those guys out there, what situations they throw them out there, and how it all kind of looks. But right now, it seems like they're hitting it off. Quinshon is as strong and brawlic as he looks on video. Like he has some of the biggest calves I think I've ever seen. Guy is just built, and he has to be for the type of style, type of running style he has, where he likes to be physical and run guys over and seeks out contact even when he's blocking. And you can tell like why he's built that way. And man, oh man, like I've been excited about him. You guys know this. I am extremely excited to watch him just develop into a player that he's going to potentially be here at the NFL level over the next few months. I was standing there watching the running back drills, just smiling the whole time from ear to ear because I really like Quinshon, and watching him do his thing is it's enjoyable. It really is. So fun player, strong player. That's very obvious. And like he looks like an NFL running back, which is going to be an exciting thing, I think, for fans to wrap their heads around here in the coming months. Another episode down with you, Dog Pound. Thanks for joining me as always to talk about your favorite football team. More to come this week, including my dream scenarios for the Browns schedule, which drops on Wednesday. We'll get into those things. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you make Locked On Browns your first listen every day. For your second listen, check out Locked On NFL Scouting, or you can keep it local. Check out Locked On Cavs. Let's hope the Cavs can keep their season alive a little longer, at least. Also, Locked On Guardians. Thank you for being an everydayer at the Locked On Podcast Network. I will talk to you again real soon, Cleveland. See ya.